Hi guys, welcome. Danny here from the Magic Junk Drawer. So today I was thinking about discussing the full moon that's going to be happening next week. It is happening on March 20th or March 19th. It's around that time, but it's also right there with the spring equinox. And when the spring equinox happens, we change over in the northern hemisphere from winter into spring. So you know, it's really funny because the time of the full moon is a time of where people can be irritable, they can be overly emotional, they may act out of character. Sometimes like crazy things happen. This is common during the full moon period. And it's funny because for myself, I've noticed this is really funny. I've said it before. I am not starstruck. Like they just famous people don't phase me. I don't know why. Like I have friends that would like die if they like met like random actresses or actors, and I just don't feel that way. I mean, I love James Bay. I always say that, but I mean, even him, I don't think that. I mean, I would be excited to meet him. Don't get me wrong, but like some of these people, like some of my friends, will act like these people can do no wrong, like they're like godlike, and I just don't feel that way. I never did about any celebrities. Anyway, but I have to say that this whole college scam thing has really frosted my ass. I don't know why, because I was never an academic person. You may find that hard to believe. But I just was never. So it wasn't that I was ever going to get into one of these colleges, and it wasn't something that was going to affect me personally. So I don't know why it just really, really bugs me that these celebrities, I mean, they were allegedly, I mean, it hasn't been, I don't think, nothing has been proven yet, but allegedly they have been buying their children's entrance or paying people to take tests for them or whatever it is that they've been doing. And I guess it's my own naive personality that I would never think. First of all, I know firsthand my mother would never do something like that for me, because if I did something bad or I didn't earn something, my mother was not going to stick up for me ever. Like she would let me fall on it myself. So maybe that's why it's not in my head that I would ever think that somebody would do that for their kid. I mean, obviously you want your kid to have everything and you want to give them opportunities. But if they don't work for it, like if you don't work for something, how do you ever have the feeling of being accomplished or feeling accomplishment? Like I was watching, and I had never even heard of this girl before, Olivia, whatever her name is. Um, but somebody had sent me one of her YouTube videos. And I normally, like, it does not bother me when people have things that I don't have. I really don't care. When I was younger, I did. There were things that like I wanted things that other people had, but now maybe because I'm older, I just don't care. But I was really getting aggravated that this girl was sitting there showing off all these clothes. She probably had more clothes in one haul than my entire closet has. And I just got really enraged by it. And then to see that she had all these YouTube subscribers. And listen, I am so grateful. And especially this week and last week, I've picked up a number of new subscribers. And I am so grateful for those people. I find it really honoring that people would want to watch me or listen to what I have to say. But to see that these people have thousands and millions of subscribers just because of who their parents are, I mean, it's crazy. Anyway, so now that I've gone off on that tangent, but the point is really, I work for mine, right? If you're a YouTuber and you start off with no subscribers and you build up your first 100 people is like such an accomplishment. And from that point on, it's a huge accomplishment. And as you start to grow, you feel really accomplished. And you can't get that if somebody is just subscribing to you because of who your parents are or because who your sister is or the next door neighbor or whatever. So I guess in a way, regardless of how you look at it, the people that work for it win. The people that have it handed to them don't. And money doesn't, it's not about money. Money doesn't buy the feeling of accomplishment. If somebody hands you a degree that you didn't earn, what's the accomplishment? But anyway, the point is that why this has really gotten me so fired up, I think, has something to do with the moon. I think that for some reason it's just that's what the moon is doing to me, because normally I would just be like, oh, what a bunch of assholes, because really it doesn't affect me. So the moon is also being aspected by Uranus, which could make things even more irritable. Now, Uranus just left Aries, where it has been for like 7 years, and moved into Taurus. So it can affect Taurus, where they act out in ways that they normally don't. And it's alleviating that from Aries. Now, Aries being such a fiery sign, they may act out like that anyway because they're ruled by Mars. They could have some kind of tempers, or they could have moments where they do have tempers. So, what I'm thinking here is watch for Taurus to start acting out of character, or people that have a lot of Taurus in their chart, and look for people that like Aries to settle down a little bit. Now, for someone like me, it's moving out of my house of finance, which is a good thing, because for the last 7 years, it's kind of been wreaking havoc on the ebb and flow of my income. Like, there has been times where I was making a lot more money, and then I lost a job, and up and down and in and out, whatever. So I'm really grateful that it's leaving. And if you're a Pisces, it's leaving your second house, and it won't be back for another 84 years. Thank goodness. So that's a good thing. As the sun moves into Aries, now we're going to start a new astrological year, which I always like to look at everything like it's a new beginning, whether it's a new month, a new astrological year, your birthday, a new solar return chart. It's a new beginning. So Aries, which will happen next week, the sun will move into Aries. Now, all about Aries, they're very fiery, they're ruled by Mars, they're go-getters. They're the first sign of the zodiac, and they're sometimes guilty of leaping without looking, just jumping into it and not thinking about the consequences. So just keep that in mind if you're an Aries, or you have a lot of Aries in your chart. And if you don't know your chart, I can help you make a free one online, and I can explain to you some of the things. You can always question me in this video, and then send me your chart or tell me what's in your chart, and we can go over it, because it's interesting, and you don't have to believe in anything 100%, but you can just kind of, you know, see what resonates with you and what doesn't. For me, I'm a Pisces sun, but I have 3 planets in Aquarius, and I think as I've gotten older, I'm a little bit more Aquarian than I am Pisces, where when I was younger, I think I was a little bit more Pisces-like. But Pisces is a dual sign, and sometimes there's a little bit of that, duality in the character. Anyhow, I've also been suffering from anxiety, which I haven't suffered from in quite some time, and it's been a couple of weeks. That could also have something to do with the full moon, Mercury being retrograde, communication being a little bit messed up. Yesterday, I was trying to send pictures of pineapples to my brother, and it just wasn't going through. Now, I haven't asked him if he got it. It probably was telling me it wasn't going through, but he probably got it 12 times, because that's so typical of Mercury retrograde. Oh, and then I have this, Mercury retrograde. Wednesday, which is the day of communication, I got a voicemail from Nancy. Nancy, the message was for Joe. So, Joe, if you're watching, you bounced a check on Nancy. She's not going to charge you the return check fee, but she needs you to show up and pay for the check. You believe it? Now, look, this is so typical Mercury retrograde. Joe is not going to go and pay the thing. He's not going to call her back because he never got the message. Nancy isn't going to believe it. So typical of Mercury retrograde. And Joe, if you're out there, you got to make good on that check. Anyway, Dylan, come on, this guy. I mean, I was up this morning, 3 o'clock this morning, and then I had work. I had a class at 6, and then I came home, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to try to take a nap, and of course that wasn't happening. I struggled with that for some time, and then finally I fell asleep a little bit, and then when I got up, I'm like, you know what, I better go out for a run. I got to burn off some of this anxiety. Maybe it has to do with tax season. I don't know what it is. I can't really put my finger on what exactly is bothering me, but it's something. Anyway, so in still working with the law of attraction, I am supposed to stop myself when I have a negative thought. Now, we're human and you're allowed to have a negative thought. You're allowed to, not feel like, not that you feel like you're a victim, but sometimes situations sort of victimize us and we feel like there's no way of getting out of it, or we feel like swamped or whatever. So if you have these thoughts, it's important to try to, and this is what they say, ignore the reality. So ignore the reality and focus on the end result. So if your end result is like, say, paying off a credit card, because I'm actually working to pay off one of my credit cards. I feel like I spent my whole life working to pay off debt, but I guess I'm probably not alone in feeling like that. So in other words, instead of focusing on looking at the credit card statement and I owe X amount of dollars, focus on being debt free. So that's the end result. Now, if you find that it's too hard to take in that whole debt free attitude when you feel like you're swamped, try to break it down into smaller end results. So you can have an end result where maybe you've paid off 25% of the bill, and that's your end result. I'm so grateful I paid off 25% of the bill. And then the next, once you hit that goal, I'm so grateful I hit 50% of the goal. Because once you start to see little, like little results happen, then it's easier to believe it. And the easiest things to manifest are the things that we're not emotionally connected to. And I tell this story all the time. This is so funny. I've known this woman for a long time. She was actually in my first teacher training. Like, she was a student with me when we were going for teacher training, and she used to like one of the classes that I taught, and for years she would take that class. And then she moved out of state, and she moved far, to a state far away. So she didn't show up regularly, but whenever she popped into my head, I knew she was showing up to class that day. And it always happened. Like, I would get to the studio, or I would be on my way to the studio, and I would think of her, and I would be like, oh, she's going to show up today. And she did. And the funny thing is that she always used to run a few minutes late. So I would get into the classroom, I would already start the class, and then she would show up. So it would be just when I forgot that I thought that she was going to come, that she would show up. And it used to happen all the time. So, and it was in a period where she moved out of state, but she was back and forth a lot. So it's like, I don't know, like, I thought about her and she would show up. But this was somebody that I didn't have an emotional connection with. Like she didn't owe me an apology. I wasn't mad at her. It wasn't like, it was just like, oh, like, she would pop into my head, and then I would be like, oh, she's going to show up at class today. And she would. It happened all the time. What happened the other day? Something happened the other day that was like that, like very synergistic. I can't remember what it was now. Anyway, another thing that we were talking about, or that I've been working on lately, is the idea of the ego. And one of the things that they always tell you in yoga is to let go of the ego. And the yoga studios I work at, I think all of them have a sign at some place that says, leave your ego at the door. I mean, in all of them, because the idea is, if you go in there with your ego and you continue to feed your ego, it's not that you're not feeding your soul, but what does your soul need? Does your soul need to be the most flexible person in the room? Does your soul need to be the strongest person in the room? Does your soul need to be able to hold the headstand the longest? No, because what does that do? Nothing. But if you go into the room and you just focus on yourself and what you're doing, and not what anybody else thinks, and not what anybody else is looking at or what anybody else is doing, you'll get more out of it. And you'll grow in a different way. Because what is the ego? Like, I spoke about it the other day in my live chat. All right, so you can hold a handstand for 10 minutes. Big deal. I mean, what are people going to say about that? Ooh, nice job. Wow. Okay. But what does it do for you? Nothing. But what about the way your ego affects your everyday life? What about when you reach out to somebody and then they don't answer you back? It happens to me all the time. My brother never answers me. I shouldn't say that. He does sometimes, but a lot of times he doesn't. And because he's my brother, I don't really care because I don't take it personal. But sometimes when other people don't answer me back, I get really pissed off because I know everybody holds their phone in their hand. Nobody ever puts it down. And don't tell me that you didn't get the message because you did. You're a liar if you tell me that you didn't. I went out for a run the other day and it was a nice day out. And I can't even tell you how many people are out walking and they're like this. Like they would have plowed right into me if I wasn't looking up because they're just totally clueless. How they don't get run over by cars, I have no idea because they're just out there. Like, can you put the phone down for 5 minutes, walk your dog, and enjoy the sun? The fresh air. You have to have the phone up your ass 24/7, but that's how it is. So when somebody doesn't answer you back right away, it's like right away, it's like some kind of negative vibe when it doesn't really have to be that because the reason why they're not answering you may not have anything to do with you. And most likely it doesn't, but yet we take things personal. And then that's where the ego shows up with, I'm never ever going to text her again. Well, if she wants to talk to me, she's going to have to reach out to me. And then that's your ego, right? Everything that we do that starts with like me being important is coming from the place of ego. So it's something to think about because I knew that I always thought about it when I went into yoga, but I never thought about it when I dealt with everyday relationships and with people, like reaching out to people or talking to people. Like I never really realized that. I also realized that I don't normally ask people to do things. Like I don't normally initiate plans. Usually somebody else has to ask me. I don't know what that's about. I don't know if it's because I feel like people don't want to hang out with me, or maybe I feel like I'm imposing on them. I don't know. I don't know why I don't. Something I'm going to have to think about, but I don't. I never call somebody up. Very rarely. Like I wanted to see James Bay this week, but it was James Bay, and I was looking really hard to find somebody to go with. Nobody was available, so I didn't go. I know, that pisses me off, especially because it was my birthday last week, and you would think that somebody would have made time to take me, but nobody wanted to be bothered. No, that's not true. People were busy. Everyone that I knew had to work and couldn't get out of it, or the other night I had committed to sub, not realizing that, he was playing that night. So it just didn't work out. But you know what? I'm sure he'll be back, and then I'll see him another time. But and then there's also the situations where, and I think I've spoken about this before too, where I would make plans with people and we were going to the beach. The beach always comes up. I don't know why. I always am remembered about every time I didn't make it to the beach when I was supposed to, but I think it's because I used to take off of work for that. So if like things got canceled later on in the day, maybe they don't stick in my mind as much. But this whole theory of my plans getting canceled, I mean, this goes back to probably when I was in college. The beach, I know, we got to go there this year. We have to at least try. And get a haystack. I'll tell you about the haystack in a minute. So I mean, this dates back to, this is not a new thing for me. And it's not specific to certain groups of friends. It's all my friends. Like, one time I was supposed to go to the beach, I told you we got hit with Hurricane Danny. I mean, really, what are the chances are that the hurricane's got to be named after me nonetheless? Another time, you know what was happening? There was one summer a couple of years ago where I had Fridays. I had most of Friday off. And every time we planned to go on a Friday, it rained. And it wasn't like chance of rain. It was like 90% chance of flooding. you know, so it was like you better get an ark if you're planning on going to the beach. And the thing is that around here we're pretty far away from the beach to take that kind of chance. Like, it's about 2 hours to get to the beach, so to sit in 2 hours of rain, you know, to hope that you're gonna, it's just not worth it. You know, you may as well just hang out and do something else. The haystack was such a disappointment. I was with two of my friends, and we were at the beach, and we went into this candy shop, and they had what was called a haystack. And it, it looked like, this is what I thought when I looked at it. It looked like chocolate covered, it was chocolate covered coconut, but the coconut that I was imagining in my head was like that of like an Almond Joy or a Mounds, soft and sweet. And the haystack was like, it was like the shredded coconut was inside the chocolate, and it was like a pile, it was like a pile of crap. And when I bit into it, it was hard, it was awful. And it was like, I was so expecting it to be good, and it just wasn't, and I had to throw it out. So that's the haystack. It was like, you know, it's like you can't even have a haystack. Let me tell you this story. So last week it was my birthday, so I wound up going off the keto diet on my birthday, and I stayed off it till Friday. And I was searching high and low for these. I was searching high and low for these chocolate covered, cream filled Russell Stover's eggs. The Cadbury egg I had. All right, I'll get to the Cadbury egg. These are like, they're sort of like flat. They're not round like the Cadbury egg. And they're stuffed with like a strawberry cream, raspberry cream, and I even wound up getting a lemon one, which was a little bit different. It kind of was marshmallowy on the inside, but I'll get to that. So I'm searching for them, and I knew that they were in the CVS across the street from the studio that I work at on Thursday night. I'm also there on Friday morning. Well, I didn't get them on Thursday night because I couldn't find them, and then as I was leaving I saw them, and I had too many things in my hand. I bought a big gallon of bleach, you know, whatever. So I'm like, oh, I'll just get them next time. I'll get them at the CVS by my house. So the next morning, CVS isn't open until 8, and I'm leaving at 7, and I'm like, oh man, I'll have to go to the CVS by my house. Well, it's not really by my house. It's about 9 miles out of the way, but I'm like, oh, I'll just go there before I go to work, and they didn't have them, and I was so disappointed. So because of my, you know, effort and disappointment, I sufficed myself with 3 Cadbury eggs, and I ate those instead. I mean, and I love them, but I really was looking for the strawberry cream-filled ones. Okay, so I let go of it all week because Saturday I had to go back on keto. And then the other morning the news was on, and they were talking about how keto is supposed to be not good for your heart, and I'm not really sure what to believe anymore because, you know, it's like high fat, high carbs, low carbs, high protein, low protein. It's like, what am I supposed to eat? Tell me what I'm supposed to eat, because keto was working for me really well. I wasn't feeling like a bloated moose, and I was full. Now I don't know if I should stay on keto, so I figured, let's go get those eggs. So last night I went and I got some of the eggs. The lemon one, I'm a lemon freak, but the lemon one is lemon on the outside, and on the inside it's like a lemon marshmallowy. It's not bad, but it's not chocolate. I mean, it's like, maybe it's white chocolate or lemon chocolate. I'm not really sure what it is. But in any regard, the strawberry ones I think are the best. Raspberry ones are pretty good, but that's dark chocolate on the outside. I don't know where this conversation is going, that it started off with astrology, and somehow I wound up ripping up celebrities, and then now I'm talking about candy. But anyhow, I have a little bit of time before I have to go back to work. So, oh yeah, and then I had anxiety. I still have a little bit of anxiety, but you know, I think one of the hardest things that I'm having is releasing some of those negative emotions when I'm not seeing the results that I want. Maybe that's what it is. You know, like feeling like throwing my hands up in the air. you know what, getting these tax things together, that'll probably be a load off my mind too. I should really focus on doing that tomorrow when I get home from work, because I hate taxes. I hate tax season. It's just it's not a good situation for a Pisces, because my organizational skills are just not there, and it stresses me out. Anyhow, well, I guess that's about it. I don't think that I have anything else to go over. I only discussed a couple of crystals the other day. I may do more videos on crystals because people always ask about them. And people always want to know how to use them. There's no right or wrong way with anything. I mean, it's whatever you feel. If you feel like you just like to hold it, if you like to carry it in your pocket. Sometimes I would always used to feel like if I just held it in my hand, it kind of helped with the anxiety a little bit. And then also, mind over matter. If you believe that this blue stone is calming, what does stat mean? We have to collaborate. No, we got to collaborate. I don't know what stat means. Was that an SAT thing that I didn't get? Oh, immediately. Wouldn't you say ASAP? It's good. All right, whenever you're ready, you let me know. Oh, it's medical talk. Oh, well, maybe, yeah, I don't know much about medical stuff. It's good. Um, yeah, we have to collaborate soon, definitely. And if there are any other questions or anything, I'm trying to think of other spells that I can do. Well, you know what? We could do poppets. We can make poppets. This guy smells so good because he's got cloves inside him. It depends what you're making the poppet for. And you can make them really fancy. You want to make poppets? All right. Who are you going to make the poppet of? You got to get their clothing. You don't have to. You can do it of yourself. If you want to bring money to you, you can put coins in there. We can make prosperity rice. We can do all kinds of stuff. Listen, I have this jar, and I have been saving this jar, right? For the right reason, for the right purpose. And I don't know what that's going to be. It still smells like pickles. It's good. Who buys a jar like this of pickles? Me. You want to know why? Because it's keto friendly. And now you can't even go on that diet because you're going to have a heart problem. One of the kids that I work with gave me this pineapple lollipop. You believe that? The pineapples are still showing up all over the place. I always believe I'm on the right track whenever I see a pineapple. Always. So the pineapple is my symbol. So I encourage you, if you see pineapple, take a picture of it and email it to me, leomoon2588, and I may put together another video of just pineapples, because I find that to be fascinating. And everybody can, you can have your own thing, whatever you see that you think is you're on the right track kind of symbol, because whatever it is, the universe will show it to you. And then you'll know that you're on the right track. I mean, this week alone, I'm really excited because I picked up a lot of subscribers. I picked up a lot this week, like more this week than I have in a long time. So to me, I think that, that's great. And thank you for subscribing to my channel. And always, if there are questions or anything that you want me to cover, you can always email it to me, or you can comment below. But if you want to email me because you don't want to be shouting it out to the universe here on YouTube, because I always feel like you never know who's looking, email it to me and I won't use your name. I'll make up a funny name or a phony name, and I'll let you know that that's your name, and we can discuss it, because some people have questions about astrology and how does astrology tie into the law of attraction and the tarot cards and all that stuff, where it can all be linked together. And focus on the good planetary aspects. So the good thing about Mercury retrograde is that Mercury retrograde will bring back people from your past, and you choose the people that you want to come back, or the people that you want to see, not the people that you don't. Go back to old tasks, things that you used to love doing. Good time to do that. Uranus, if you're a Taurus and Uranus is moving into your sign, well, now you have liberty to act out of character, and you can do what you want, and you can do something out of character. If you want to, I don't know, paint your house purple, paint your house purple. If that's normally not something that you would do. Taurus tend to be very grounded people. They tend to be very slow movers, and they also tend to not do things on a whim. Like it's rare that like you'll see a Taurus do something like on a whim. They usually think about it. I had a friend of mine that was a Taurus when we were in high school, and we had our band. So funny. She was she was the bass player, and she was really tall. And I think that sometimes, like when you're really tall, you get more attention because you kind of stand out. Like she was much taller than like the average woman, and her whole family, they were all tall. And her mom was very like strict, and my friend wanted to shave half of her head, like the side of her head. And she knew that her mother wasn't going to like it, but she did it anyway. And she came home, and I was like, oh my God, what did your mom say? And she was like, you shaved your head? You shaved your head? I'll shave your ass. And for years, we used to laugh at that. Meanwhile, it grew back. It was not the end of the world, but you know, my mom would have killed me. My mom would kill me if I pulled any kind of stunt. Anything that I did, I had to make sure that nobody was going to find out about it because I would get in trouble. So anyhow, I think that's about it for today. My younger nephew is a Taurus, and he is so funny. Like he's Sagittarius rising, so I kind of see him more of a Sagittarius than a Taurus right now anyway. Like this kid is just so funny. Um, he likes to dance, and he really cuts it up too for like a little kid. He's only 3. Well, he's almost 4, but you know, funny. Um, so now Uranus will be in his sign for the next 7 years, which will make him 10. So he may be this. Maybe this is going to be how Uranus affects him. Maybe once he turns 10 or 11 and it moves out of his chart, then maybe he will, won't be as feisty. But then it moves into Gemini, which is my older nephew's. And we'll see how it affects him. And then it moves into my first house because I'm a Gemini rising. I don't know how I feel about that. All right, we'll see. All right, thank you guys for watching. As always, if you like what we're doing here at the Magic Junk Drawer, don't forget to like, subscribe, share.